I'm wondering, though, if Americans didn't fully understand what Iranians meant when they said death to America.
It meant death to imperialism, death to American foreign policy that toppled democracy in Iran and installed a brutal dictator, death to our subjugation and our humiliation as a country and a civilization. When Donald Trump announced the war in February, he began by listing all the grievances that the United States had toward Iran. And he begins by talking about the seizure of the American embassy in November 1979. That's sort of a baffling development for a lot of people because they don't understand why anyone would seize a diplomatic staff and an embassy and hold them in violation of international law for 444 days. That just makes no sense. If you look at it from the perspective of Iranians, from the bottom up, they were looking at the United States as the key supporter, backer, sustainer of a brutal monarch who was installed against the wishes of the Iranian people, thwarting a democratic movement in 1953, and held in power and supported by not just the United States, but by the West. Iranian revolutionaries would respond back to the United States, yes, we did take these hostages, but the United States took us hostage for 25 years because of that 53 coup and because of the support they gave to the former dictator.
I remember how deeply traumatic this event in Iran was for Americans to see the way in which these American officials were being treated at that time. I'm wondering, though, if Americans fully appreciate that anger that Iranians felt and maybe didn't fully understand what Iranians meant when they said death to America. From your vantage point as a scholar, as someone who kind of understands this moment, what does that term, death to America, mean to you?
It meant death to imperialism, death to American foreign policy that toppled democracy in Iran and installed a brutal dictator, death to our subjugation and our humiliation as a country and a civilization. It doesn't mean death to every American citizen, death to American democracy or human rights. In fact, many Iranians would argue back then that we want some of that stuff for us. And the problem is the hypocrisy of the United States that has robbed us of our democracy and of our human rights. In a revolutionary moment, slogans that often get articulated are often not the best slogans in terms of public relations.
Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF!
If you really want to understand any part of the world, you have to understand it from the perspective of people living in that part of the world. If you are a typical Iranian citizen living in Iran whose political identity had been shaped by the events that we're talking about in the post-1953 period, you'd be very angry with the United States. In fact, if you weren't angry with the United States, I would say there'd be something wrong with you, because that would be the legitimate, natural sort of response to the humiliation, to the subjugation, to the dictatorship, and to the, tyrannical rule of the Shah that was very much at the foundation of the 1979 revolution.